Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the Project Manager and what it can do for you in Premiere. You know, if you're like me, it is very hard sometimes to part with a project that you put a lot of time and energy into. And it's a couple different reasons. One, it's just got such a sense of permanence. You know, you have all of these footage files and audio, media, all those different things. And just deleting them really seems like it's so permanent. You can't go back to it. Why would we do that? The other side of that is you might actually want to reuse some projects in the future. Maybe you've done a commercial and, you know, somebody at some point goes, hey, this employee was fired that you featured in the commercial. We need to slip a new shot into there, or we've changed our logo. We need to change the logo at the end of the spot. And so you might actually find a point where you actually have to revisit a project and change some things out. But at the same time, we have to be practical and understand that we can't always hold on to every single thing in its original size and form, because you know, we'll run into the limitations sometimes of our physical media. And so a hard drive can fill up with projects after projects after projects. And so we have to think of ways that we can reduce the overall size of the project and make it more convenient to save. And Project Manager is really one of those things that helps make that a lot easier for an editor with Premiere. So where do we find it? It's going to be here in the File menu, and it's the very last choice all the way here at the bottom. It's called Project Manager. And when I bring open the window of Project Manager, I can see that there are a number of choices. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory, but we're going to go through them and I'll kind of tell you what they do and whether or not you'd want to choose them. Now, up here at the top is the ability to choose which sequences you want to save. Now, what Project Manager is going to do is it's going to create a new project with the files that you used in your video. And we can then look at this and say, hey, I had several sequences in my project, and for instance, I had a final edit where I put everything together. That was the one that I exported from that had all of the final editing choices. I had another sequence that I just used to review some of my B-roll footage, and I had another sequence that I did kind of a rough version of the spot. I didn't want to get rid of it, but I didn't use it for my final version anyway. I can look at these two, and again, it's up to you as an editor, but for me, I looked at it and said, okay, I'll only use the final edit because that one was my best work. That's the one I exported. I don't want to revisit any of those. Now, you may find that you have a different answer to that, and that's where this gives you the choice. I can check or uncheck these and tell it which sequences I want to save in my new project. Now, the other thing I can do is I can take all the files that are in my project now, and I can copy them to a new location. Maybe a new folder on my hard drive, maybe a folder on a USB drive that I'm going to hold on to and save for later. You know, those are some options. And so I can take all the files that are in my project, copy them, and put them in their more or less original state into a new folder. If I choose Consolidate and Transcode, then what I'll have the option to do is it will take really only the portions of those original files that I used and then put them in the new folder. So maybe I had a 20-minute interview and I only used 30 seconds of that interview. It's only going to take that 30 seconds that it's in the final project and put that in the new sequence. So you can see off the top of your head how that is both helpful and also not helpful, because you may want to go back and revisit some other sound bites from that interview. And so that's one of those things to keep in mind. So for me, I'm going to choose this. And but again, there may be times that you do choose Consolidate and Transcode. It's really your choice as an editor to be able to go, you know, I don't think I'll ever need any of this other stuff. I'm going to do this, and then that way I can reduce the size of these clips because, you know, maybe the camera was shaking a lot at the beginning of the clips and only the part that I used was really the best part. Over here on options, here's where you're really going to do some of the things that'll help reduce your file size as well. The top choice, exclude unused clips. Again, that's your choice as an editor. That's going to take any clip that you didn't use in your final sequence, and it's not going to copy it to the new folder. So again, that's up to you. If you know that the footage that didn't make the final cut is no good, then you can choose that. Include handles. Now, if I do choose Consolidate and Transcode, remember that's the one where it takes only the portions that I used in the final edit, then I can choose Include Handles. And what that's going to do is it's going to take maybe 30 frames on either side of the edit that I didn't use, and it's going to give me just a little bit of extra footage to pull from if I do choose to kind of move my edit around a little bit. Of course, I can make this number bigger or I can make it smaller. But that's basically saying, yes, I want to use only the portion that is in the final video, but I want a little bit of extra just in case, I decided that I wanted to mess around with my edit a little bit. That's only available if you consolidate and transcode. Audio conform files are those things that when you import audio into Premiere, it's going to make them, it does what's called conforming your audio to make it more usable and more flexible in the Premiere application. And so you can choose to do that or not. I'll leave that on because that's good audio. That's good quality audio, and it makes it really convenient with Premiere. Image sequences to clips. That's when you import a series of images that play as video. It's going to turn that into just plain old video. I don't have any image sequences in this project. Preview files, if Premiere's written new preview files because I've used effects or graphics, it'll copy those and include those. You don't have to choose that. You can always recreate those when you open your project in its new form. Rename media files. If I've renamed a piece of footage in Premiere, for instance, if I go over here and I say, this is not a very helpful title, so I'm going to choose rename and say man running across stone bridge. Then all of a sudden, when I take it into the new project, it's going to give it this name instead of the name of the actual file. And that's just an option for me there. If I have an After Effects composition, I can choose to make it just video in the final. That way I don't have to then save the After Effects composition and then increase hard drive space by doing that. Finally, preserve alpha if there's any sort of transparency or anything like that. Would I want to save that? Now, destination path, that's where you get to choose where you're going to save your new project. So I'm going to make a new folder and just call it Active Sports Weekly Condensed. Create and choose. And now it's going to tell me, hey, this is how much space you have. And I'm going to have it tell me how much space I'm saving. So my original project size is about 1.33 gigs. And when I run it through Project Manager, now all of a sudden I'm only taking up about 100 megabytes. So I've reduced it by about a 12th. It's about a 12th the size of the original form. So that's really good, and that's going to help a lot in terms of hard drive space. So I'm just going to hit OK, and it requires the project to be saved, so yes. It's going to do all of those things, and it's going to do it pretty quick because this isn't a super complex project. And now what I can do is I can go here to my Active Sports Weekly Condensed, and it has now taken all of that footage that I used in my original project, put it into this folder, and saved it in a much more condensed form. And so Project Manager will help you a lot, especially if you're someone that you're like me, you hold on to everything. It'll help you continue to do that, but not at the expense of a lot of hard drive space. So again, Project Manager can really be a very helpful feature in Premiere.